Hey guys, what's going on? What's going on, PG Gang? What's going on? Okay, throw your lunches in the chat. Okay. Hey everybody, what's going on? What are y'all eating for lunch? I just had a wasa cracker with cream cheese and some everything bagel seasoning on it. I just love everything bagel seasoning. Anyway, that is not my complete lunch. That was kind of like take the edge off from not eating breakfast because I've been live the morning and I was pretty much just sipping coffee. Anyway, Ronnie Walker, who was found guilty of first degree murder, um, was it Tuesday? Tuesday. They started his sentencing hearing today, and I figure let's go ahead and drop in a spicy Wendy's sandwich. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Let's see what in the lunch is going on. Sanders, hey boo. Hey Sanders, RN, what's going on, sis? Denise, I am Coco and Victoria. Thank you for jumping in here first. And an honorable mention to Stormy. Stormy got here. Well, Denise, yes. Stormy and Victoria basically got here at the same time. So honorable mention to our good sis Stormy. At the end of the day, how is everybody doing? It's the rocks. What's going on, Miss Ebony? What's going on? Patty, what's up, sis? Miss Andrew, what's going on? Crafty and conversations. Hey boo. Mocha Wine, how are you, boo? What's going on? I do have any of you guys who have membership over at PCFP. Um, they dropped the latest text messages, so I have them. We were current up to I think Friday, so I think these ended from yesterday. I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing. What was I doing yesterday? I took Farrah out. Because it was like 97 degrees. It was super hot. It's 91 right now. It's it is I hate that I was complaining a couple of weeks ago that it was not hot enough because it is definitely hot now. Summer is here, okay? Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I am so glad that you guys came to spend lunchtime. Facebook is just now checking in. Thank you, Facebook. I see who was that who just checked in on Facebook? Gwendolyn. Hi, Gwen. Hey, boo. Hey, boo. What's going on? What's everybody eating? Chicken strips and fries, mesa bowl, or mezza bowl, shrimp, okra, tomatoes, and jasmine rice. Yum. What's going on, everybody? Drop your lunches. Did I miss anyone's lunch? I think I got everybody. Anyway, 501 Queen, what's going on? The real Empress. Hey boo. Did I just see Jammin? Hey Jammin, what's up? Penelope, 92 percenter. What's going on? Lex as Simply Divine Baking. Sweet Aces Silhouette, what's going on? Integrity Matters, Blue Bear, what's going on? Keon say, hi boo, what's up, boo? Mons, is it Mole? Mons, Victoria, what's going on? I hope I said hi. Everyone who's here, I think I said hi to you. If I missed you, my bad. AK, I see you. I missed you before, but I see you. And then I lost you again. There you are. Hi, AK. Vic to the Veil, I see you. Ms. Ebony, what's going on? Sham, Plant Lover. Plant Lover, you know what? I got some mushrooms in my peace lily. Farah all of a sudden says, Mom, you've got mushrooms in your plant. So I looked it up and it said that I actually have super good soil, but it's very wet. And that wet makes mushrooms. Ew. That wetness makes it a prime territory for fungi. Okay. Thank you so much. Someone got gifted. Oh my God. Thank you for gifting a friend. So much. Let me see. I don't have that monitor open. Let's see who got gifted. Who got gifted? Um, But plant lover, do you think I guess I'm bringing that up because um do you think I should extract the mushrooms from my peace lilies? I've never had that problem before. I've had my money tree be a little bit what they call too wet. And then I had to, they just said, I guess I need some additional drainage. Plant lover, if you have any wisdom to share with me, any of my other plantanistas, let me know what you think I should do. You guys know I'm kind of a novice plant owner. I have some pretty large plants and my plants just seem to thrive. I've got a very bright, airy living room and plants love my living room. So I don't know. But all of a sudden now I'm getting mushrooms in my peace lily, so I'm not really sure what to do. Let's see. All right, let's see who got gifted. AK got gifted, okay? And look at that. It's the Rocks gifted and Mocha Wine got it. Look at that. Okay. I appreciate y'all gifting so much. It's very sweet and it's an awesome way to and gift a friend. And I thank you guys so much. I forgot to open the chat. Do you like I'm not sure what that is. I'm gonna be honest. Better drainage and remove the mushrooms. Okay, I will. Ugh, I hate. Should I just dig in with gloves and just rip them out, or should I just snip their heads off? Yeah, that's what I read. Because I was like, what is going on? They said I could leave them, but does that it went from one mushroom to like a few heads now. So maybe if I leave them, they're going to continue to grow. So maybe I need to just go ahead and take them out. I don't want it to be food though, because I don't want to get bugs in there. I don't know. Just ease up on the water and take the entire shroom out. Okay. I'm gonna have to put on my gloves. Sometimes I can just stick my hands in the dirt, but there's just something about mushrooms. I'm not a mushroom fan. Please, it's okay if you love mushrooms. My husband is a mushroom fan. I make his salad mushrooms every single day. I would never use the ones in the plant, so let's be clear. But I just don't like I don't want to touch the ones in my plant. Already weirded out enough by mushrooms and the ones that are in the I'll take a picture of them before I take them out, but yeah, I'll have to put my gloves on. Okay, so less water to the peace lily. Okay. That's the one I probably give the most water to be honest, because it always looks so sad and droopy. Like I feel like the peace lily needs a lot of water, but maybe I need to just ease up just a little bit. But I've had that plant for like 5 years. All my plants are pandemic plants. And they I have one plant that is huge, huge. My snake plants are they're out of control. They're very dramatic. The peace lily is not at peace. She is very much of the diva of the crew and needs the most attention. It's very much like, anyway, let's get to business, guys. If you guys are not familiar with the Ronny Walker case, I'm going to run this news story so you guys can get familiar with it. But we're going to go dip into the sentencing. Now, they are on recess right now, so we can speed it up to 1.25, 1.5. But they are trying to decide on whether Sir is going to get the death penalty or not. If you guys remember watching Wade, and Wade went through that death penalty phase because this is Florida. Um, hopefully, look, whatever the state of Florida, like, decides to do is what the state of Florida decides to do. I'm not going to put too much on it. He's either getting life or he's getting the death penalty, one way or the other. We can't bring young little Nylexia Alexander back, unfortunately, but I, whatever whatever they see fit to do, I think I'm glad that he was found, that they came back with the verdict that they came back with. I'm gonna say it like that. Okay. If you're not familiar with this case, here we go.
Guilty as charged. The 48-year-old man accused of killing a 14-year-old Tampa girl now faces the death penalty after a jury of 12 found him guilty of first-degree murder. Ronny Walker killed Alexia Alexander near the intersection of Floribraska and Highland in May of 2022 in a hail of gunfire. Fox 13's Evan Axelbank reports from Hillsborough County Court.
Well, the verdict brought enormous relief for the family of Alexia Alexander, who...
Let me say this too, just to clear it up, because someone in the comments mentioned something yesterday, and I just wanted to be clear. This is not a situation of mom's boyfriend. This guy is a creep roaming the streets. Nylexia was a little bit troubled. Nylexia found out like around 11, 12 years old that she was adopted. She did not take the news well. Her adopted mother, who'd had her since she was like 2 years old, was having some difficulty with her. Nylexia started running away, hanging out with the wrong crowd. And apparently she took up with this creep. And because only a creep would, as a grown, I mean, the guy's in his 40s and he's dealing with a 14-year-old. I mean, he's disgusting, right? So, this was not a case of mom's boyfriend. So this is not a situation where the mother had someone in the house who violated the daughter. The mother was providing a good home. She was working, productive, all of the things. The daughter was having issues and she started running away, and the mom was not really in complete control of what the young lady had going on and not aware of who all she was dealing with. And the night that she was unalived, she actually had slipped out of the house unbeknownst to the mother. Because, I mean, let's be real. The lady still had to work. She had to get her rest, get her sleep. And Nylexia slipped out of the house unbeknownst to her at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And unfortunately, this particular time was going to be the last time that she was going to slip out of the house. So very sad, awful set of circumstances. But mom was trying to do everything she could do to support her daughter, provide a positive household, earn a living, pay bills, do all of the things. And unfortunately, there was a predator in the midst who meant her daughter no good, and unfortunately met with her demise, unfortunately. So I just want to be clear that this is, a lot of times we do see, unfortunately, someone making a bad decision, bringing someone into their home, but this is not that. Okay.
Who consider Ronny Walker a stone-cold killer. After all, Alexia was dead within just 15 minutes after he picked her up in his car. Since the moment Alexia Alexander's body was found in Tampa Heights, her family has only wanted to hear one word.
The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree as charged.
For 3 years, they've wondered whether Ronny Walker would pay the price for picking her up, driving her to a vacant lot, shooting her 3 times in the face, and hoping no one would be able to identify her. But the moment her family saw her tattoo on news reports, they knew someone had to pay.
I could see her smiling down and say, "You did it, Mom. You did it. You did not give up."
Walker showed no emotion, with this capping an effort to get away with it. The third person in the car that night, Robert Creed, testified Walker threatened to kill him if he told anyone. Another witness said Walker told him he shot Alexia because he was mad about her sexual history. And prosecutors told the jury he threw the gun in the Hillsborough River and tried to clean his car of DNA.
He definitely deserved it. He definitely deserved it. It's just, he's heartless. My baby was 14.
The defense insisted the 2 key witnesses against Walker were compromised by their own effort to get favorable treatment from the court and by detectives who badgered them into fingering Walker. The state attorney says the key piece of evidence is that Alexia's phone was tracked with Walker's car until he discovered it and likely ditched it somewhere.
The prosecution had to put a puzzle together, and we're very grateful that Nylexia was able to communicate with us even after she was gone.
Now, the story of Nylexia is finished with a clear ending.
Lex is so sweet. She's an outgoing kid, loved hairstyles, music, reading. She was very special. She's a typical teenager.
The former foster child who became a teen runaway will forever be known as a beloved daughter with a family who didn't give up.
Prayers, strength, support, love. I had it all around me.
The sentencing phase could take several days because the defense plans on presenting 8 to 10 witnesses who will try to convince the jury that there were mitigating factors to what Ronny Walker did. Evan Axelbank, Fox 13 News.
Okay, just a second, guys. Let me pivot. Portia is over here being very vocal. Okay. So we'll get through some of it. We'll maybe go through some, but we're gonna keep up on. I don't know that I'm gonna stream every single day. But I feel like this is pretty interesting. And so we're gonna get through some of it, and then I've been keeping up with it anyway. We've streamed some of this case, not all of this case. But this was pretty interesting. Oh, Portia, I am Coco said hi. Now she's walking over to me. Oh, you want to say hi? Oh, Portia is such a cutie. She's so cute. Oh my God. Anyway, Lambo, nobody asked you. Lambo is one of those. He's one of those. He hears Portia's name and he gets you would think I just summoned him. But anyway, okay, let's get into it, guys. Yeah, let's get into it. And yeah. Me and my husband early on, we talked about doing that, maybe like 1 or 2 kids or something. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I have the ability to like really open up my heart and then let people, let a kid go after opening up my heart like that. Also, I'm going to be honest, I would be kind of afraid if people are coming with issues or there's, what I mean, some of these kids come with issues I don't want to necessarily have to deal with. So I definitely try to support in other ways. I just don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could do it. They got so much going on. Babies, yes, but girl, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I definitely commend anyone who is able to really provide that support. It's such a labor of love to be able to do foster parenting well and really support these kids in their time of need, either to get back home to their home or to provide them a safe place to live while they're in transition, and maybe even open up their home for adoption. That's a lot. That's huge. So that's a lot. Anyway, let's get into it. This is in Hillsborough County. This is the sentencing phase of Ronny Walker's trial. I don't know who they're bringing, but they didn't even put on a defense. I don't know why they think that they're going to bring 8 witnesses for him to not get the death penalty, but in his defense, they didn't even bring one. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Oh, I've got it on a little fast. My bad.
And conscienceless and pitiless. Then you have the issue of gunshot wounds in the case law that emphasize that normally they are not especially heinous, atrocious, and cruel. So I submit there is no evidence saying that she knew she was about to die. No additional acts presented. That's just the evidence. That's where we are. No evidence.
This is the thing too. When Ronny Walker picked her up, he bought her some sort of drink at the convenience store. The fact that Nylexia was dead within 20 minutes of him picking her up, including a stop to the convenience store and him buying her some sort of like a cooler or some sort of wine, some sort of beverage, tells me that he was trying to make her senses, he was trying to, maybe he was just trying to get her flat out drunk. I don't know what he was trying to do, but a 14-year-old is not supposed to be drinking. Giving a 14-year-old alcohol, you're trying to impair her ability to make decisions. And the fact that now she's drinking, and then you bring her out to a lot and do what you did, which was kill her. No, he bought her alcohol. You're saying it was a Fanta? I don't think so. Didn't he buy her a drink? The prosecutor said it was alcohol. He was previously convicted of murder. He had a plea deal. And then the plea deal, something else happened with the plea deal. He only ended up spending 5 years. In the closing arguments, in the second round, in the rebuttal phase of the closing arguments, he said it was alcohol. I know you were sad to see them go, right? Okay. I feel like that's what he said. Did you watch the second round, the rebuttal closing arguments? He said it was alcohol. Girl, I'm just going based on what I heard. So, okay. I mean, it was still 3 something in the morning, so but yeah, Ronny Walker's not a good guy.
He intended to have her suffer or inflict a high degree of pain. Plus, the medical examiner also testified there were no.
I just think the fact that he picked her up at 3:00 in the morning, he knew what he was doing.
The evidence is just not there. Again, if this is found to be EHAC, then every single shooting will be. Thank you, Judge.
Can you distinguish on page 29 of that Gonzalez case where the court mentions?
They're trying to determine, like, was this a heinous act? I think what he did says it all, but I don't know.
The victim's mental state and the victim's perception of imminent death need only last seconds for the aggravator to apply.
Well, that's one thing the court is saying. If that's what they're saying in Gonzalez, and I saw that in Gonzalez, sure. That's not saying, oh, that means that it only means that. That's one quote by the court in that the victim knowing. So in other words, it's kind of similar to, as I mentioned, the Jimmy Rice case, where, the guy, Mr. Chavez, has the gun, and he says to the victim in a few seconds, do you want to die, or you are about to die? So that is just I don't necessarily disagree with that. That is just a quote in Gonzalez about the time period.
How did he end up with these 3 women as his defense attorneys?
All the other factors in conjunction with the time makes the difference.
Oh, absolutely. Because if the Florida Supreme Court is making that one line quote in Gonzalez saying that period of time can be a few seconds, okay, that's what they have stated by saying that. But in Gonzalez, that is the one where you have the shot into the floor, you have the shot into the leg, you have the shot into the other leg, and you have the victim terrorized. Gonzalez led that person into the bedroom. So if all of that is happening quickly, so that is just one line in it. They're making that comment that, hey, that apprehension and the victim being aware could just merely last seconds. But again, that is only one of the factors. We have to look at Mr. Walker's intent to cause unneedless suffering. This has to be wicked, shockingly evil, or vile, that he designed to inflict a high degree of pain. So we're not just looking at Miss Alexander, even in those few seconds. That is just one line in Gonzalez. Again, there has to be additional acts to show it was conscienceless and pitiless and unnecessary torturous. So Mr. Walker is there evidence that he has utter indifference to or enjoyment in the suffering of others? That issue at just a few seconds? And I don't necessarily disagree with that one line. And of course, it doesn't even apply in Gonzalez because of what happened. But that's just one part of it. And honestly, we don't even know. The thing with this case is you just don't know. So no, yes, Judge, that is clearly distinguishing.
Judge, just one thing I point out, she keeps saying heinous judges and cruel. It's heinous judges or cruel. You don't have to prove
I just hate how they don't have that they're not using the microphones.
We believe these cases are not really that distinguishable. In each of these cases, a victim is shot once and then moments later executed, similar to here. And the courts are finding that those situations in which a victim is shot once and then later shot again, a short period of time later, that's heinous, atrocious, and cruel. That's what we have here, Judge. I agree, we could not establish the sequence of the order. We would probably not have alleged this particular aggravator. The fact is, we can prove the sequence of the orders, and we can prove that the first shot she received was not a fatal shot. She was alive, she was in fear, she was in a place she had no idea where she was, because she'd been taken there by this man. She gets out of the car, she walks away from the car. So clearly has ability to move, knows what's happening, and clearly knows death is right around the corner from the man who just shot her, is now getting out of the car himself. So all of that, Judge, is consistent with all of these cases in which you have an individual who was shot and then mere moments later executed, and the courts have found that the knowledge of the impending death is what makes it HAC. So that is why we believe this case does qualify. It should be a question for the jury.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Terry. I'm going to find this. Rivera v. State, 545, 72nd, 864, Florida Supreme Court. In that case, an officer of the law was murdered. 2 shots were fired within 16 seconds of each other. And despite the fact that the officer was shot while kneeling on the floor with his hands upraised, the court found that that was not happening. So how do you reconcile that with Rivera without recognizing the fact that in Rivera, the victim had witnessed her husband or her significant other being shot twice and then executed before she was shot? So while the court may say mere seconds, but there was quite a history before the second victim was killed in Gonzalez.
In that case, Judge, he was shot and killed pretty much instantly. In the case
But if you look at the
law enforcement officer,
if you look at the language preceding the line on that page where it talks about only mere seconds is fine, and it talks about the common sense understanding of witnessing someone getting shot twice and executed had some effect on that victim as well, mere seconds. But it's not. I don't think it's taken in isolation. And it's hard to.
And I agree, Your Honor. There are cases we can sit here all day and go back and forth on cases because it is such a close call. But one of the things that I believe the courts take very seriously is this knowledge of impending death. And I'll go back to Phillips v. State, in which this individual was stalked. In the same sense, quite honestly, our belief is, and Alexia Alexander was stalked by this individual when he was looking around trying to find her. Okay, shot twice in the chest and then fled a short distance before being killed by repeated shots in the head and neck. I don't see how we can distinguish this case from that case.
In which case is that again?
That's the Phillips v. State case, Judge, 476 Southern 2nd 194. It says the trial court correctly surmised that between 2 volleys of gunfire, the victim must have agonized over its ultimate fate and properly considered the circumstances in the sentencing process. I don't see how it's any different than what the situation we're talking about here. And again, Judge, we could go be pulling up cases literally all day long. I can't tell you how many cases there are on HAC in the state of Florida. And slight little tiny differences will distinguish each one. But one thing.
Okay, I advanced it because they were they were obviously debating some points of law. So the prisoner, Ronnie, as you can see, was at the table in his jailhouse red outfit right here. And then he goes to the back and comes back and has his suit on because I think this is when the jury is actually coming back in. So that was kind of a little bit of pregame at that moment that we were just witnessing. So I'm going to advance past that so we can get to the actual hearing component. And this man is now a convicted killer. He was convicted on Tuesday. This is for the sentencing, whether he will get a life in prison without parole. So what is it? LWOP, a life without parole, or is he getting potentially the death sentence? Is he getting DP or LWOP? Girl, the lawyer who's yelling, yes. You know how I feel about the death penalty? I'm not going to lie. I'm not opposed to it. I don't think it's amazing, but if that's the law of the land that you're in, if that is what they're doing in a particular, first, don't kill anybody. You won't have to worry about the death penalty if you don't kill anybody, right? If you do something to put yourself in the position to have the death penalty put on your head, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the problem right there. So don't do anything. So that's the way I look at it. And I feel like if that's the law of the land, then I respect the law of the land. That's what's going to have to, if that's what's going to have to be, that's what's going to have to be. She's the same. So Bass, what was the Bass trial? Yeah, I think he's only up for life without parole. He's not getting parole. Parole is the reason why Nylexia is dead now. He got a plea deal and he was out, he was released, and I think that he's going to be life without parole or death penalty. I think those are the options. Oops.
Come to order, court is back in session.
That's a good point, Benita. And I think the death penalty works if they get the other parts right, right? If there's a injustice and a false conviction or a wrongful conviction, things like that, then it's not working. But there are cases where it's appropriate and it works and all of that, but in the other cases, so I totally get it.
Good down there? Right back on the lower way. That's right.
That's the reason why Nylexia is dead.
I had to learn to adjust. It doesn't talk about the effect it had regarding her death. Yeah, it's almost the same, but it's her effect on her.
Very long history behind this prior violent felony. It can get posted, unfortunately, Mr. Terry to Detective Masucci. However, they didn't know where Mr. Lee was. And in fact, unfortunately, Mr. Terry only had Mr. Lee show up like about 2 weeks ago. So then it became Detective Dravenet. I was having an issue with. Now this morning, I'm told they're using him. So we have not fully prepared them at this point for Raymond Lee. This became an issue to us.
Where is Raymond Lee right now? Okay. Well,
some impact, and there's also photographs.
That just came in this morning, right?
Yes.
Might as well take care of that.
Yeah, might as well. They in this faucet, you guys have to change it to show this to the judge. Yes, we have photographs of Alexia Alexander and photographs of Elaine Caldwell.
Okay.
Would you like me to go first, Ronny?
This guy has killed 2 people. So they're going to present pictures of the first homicide and then Nylexia. It's like, it's just too much. How is it that this is even going to take longer than a day? For me, it would be like, I'm sorry, he's going to have to go. Either one, either option, but this is ridiculous. You killed 2 people.
Yeah, I'll let me look at it. You plan on introducing both packets, correct?
Is this when the jury comes in? Golly.
Along with the evidence you have heard during the guilt phase of the trial and then the defense. After the whatever, if you understand how the proceedings will be conducted, the attorneys will have an opportunity. Y'all may be seated. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
My God.
Were you all able to follow the court's instructions? No issues? Nobody had any contact with any media stories, print, radio, TV, YouTube, none of that? And
No YouTube, what?
Spoke to you about the case, and you never spoke to anyone about this case? All right, very good. Also, a couple of things just logistically. We're going to be breaking around 2 o'clock this afternoon. So you'll have an early day today. The state and the defense don't anticipate that this is going to be a lengthy process overall. So that's so we can do some extra work in the afternoon. The attorneys are still going to be working hard. And also the delay today was because of me. I had them in here at 8:30 this morning. And we have been working right up until the very second we went and got you. So if you want to be mad at someone, it's all on me because they have to listen to what I say apparently. And after that, I think we're ready to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, you have found the defendant guilty of 1 count of murder in the first degree. This punishment for this crime is either life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or death. Before proceeding further, it will be helpful if you understand how the proceedings will be conducted. The attorneys will have an opportunity, if they wish, to make an opening statement. The opening statement gives the
He
attorneys
does
a chance
look
to
like
tell
Lord
you what
Farquhar.
evidence they believe will be presented during the penalty phase of this trial. What the lawyers say during opening statements is not evidence.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to go on a limb, and I already know that the people of Florida are going to do the right thing and send this man where he needs to be, the right way. So look at this. This is going to cut out. We got about 40 minutes and then they said court is going to end at 2 o'clock. So they might not even be coming back because look, it's already 1:15 and they're cutting out at 2. So after this is over, I might go ahead and read the text messages. We'll shut this down and I'll read the new text. And then I have another hearing too for us. Anyway, let's let Lord Farquhar, the judge, aka judge, read the instructions to the jury. And then we'll take it from there. But I feel like they just need to get him off these streets, because if he's the type of man who's going to deal with 14-year-olds and you know what I'm saying? Like he's dangerous. Judge Lord Farquhar.
It as such. After the attorneys have given their opportunity to present their opening statement.
Okay.
The state and the defense.
So if they're back at 1:15 and then they're shutting down at 2, so they'll be back for another 45 minutes.
Present evidence relative to the nature of the crime and the defendant's character, background, or life. You are instructed that this evidence, along with the evidence you have heard during the guilt phase of the trial, is presented in order for you to determine, as you will be instructed, 1, whether each aggravating factor is proved beyond a reasonable doubt. 2, whether the aggravating factors found to exist beyond a reasonable doubt are sufficient to justify the imposition of the death penalty. And 3, whether mitigating circumstances are proven by greater weight of the evidence. 4, whether the aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating circumstances. And 5, whether the defendant should be sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or death. At the conclusion of the evidence and after argument of counsel, you'll be instructed on the law that guides your deliberations. Aggravating factors. An aggravating factor is a standard to guide the jury in making the choice between the verdict of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or death. It is a statutorily enumerated circumstance that increases the gravity of the crime or the harm to the victim. You must unanimously agree that each aggravating factor was proven beyond a reasonable doubt before it may be considered by you in arriving at your final verdict. In order to consider the death penalty as a possible penalty, you must unanimously determine that at least one aggravating factor has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The state has the burden to prove each aggravating factor beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a mere possible doubt, a speculative, imaginary, or forced doubt. Such a doubt must not influence you to disregard an aggravating factor if you have an abiding conviction that it exists. On the other hand, if after carefully considering, comparing, and weighing all the evidence, you do not have an abiding conviction that the aggravating factor exists, or if having a conviction, it is one which is not stable, but one which wavers and vacillates, then the aggravating factor has not been proved beyond a reasonable doubt.
He needs to be up there sitting with Wade. That's what he needs to. I feel like Ronny deserves to sit right next door to Wade.
And you must not consider it in proving your verdict as to the appropriate sentence to the court. A reasonable doubt as to the existence of an aggravating factor may arise from the evidence, conflicts in the evidence, or the lack of evidence. If you have a reasonable doubt as to the existence of an aggravating factor, you must find that it does not exist. However, if you have no reasonable doubt, you should find that the aggravating factor does exist. Before moving on to mitigating circumstances, you must determine that the aggravating factors are sufficient to impose a sentence of death. If you do not unanimously agree that the aggravating factors are sufficient to impose death. Let me start that. Before moving on to mitigating circumstances, you must determine that the aggravating factors are sufficient to impose a sentence of death. If you do not unanimously agree that the aggravating factors are sufficient to impose death, you do not move on to consider the mitigating circumstances. Mitigating circumstances. Should you find sufficient aggravating factors do exist to justify the imposition of the death penalty, it will then be your duty to decide whether the aggravating factors that you unanimously find to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt outweigh the mitigating circumstances that have been established. Unlike aggravating factors, you do not need to unanimously agree that a mitigating circumstance has been established. Rather, whether a mitigating circumstance has been established is an individual judgment by each juror. A mitigating circumstance is not limited to the facts surrounding the crime. It can be anything which might indicate that the death penalty is not appropriate for the defendant. In other words, a mitigating circumstance may include any aspect of the defendant's character, background, or life, or any circumstance of the offense that reasonably may indicate that the death penalty is not an appropriate sentence in this case. A mitigating circumstance need not be proven beyond a reasonable doubt by the defendant. A mitigating circumstance need only be proven by the greater weight of the evidence, which means evidence more likely than not tends to prove the existence of the mitigating circumstance. If you determine by the greater weight of the evidence that a mitigating circumstance exists, you may consider it established and give that evidence such weight as you determine it should receive in reaching your conclusion as to the sentence to be imposed. Once the state has presented evidence of an existing aggravating factors, victim impact evidence may be presented. Such evidence is only presented to demonstrate Alexia Alexander's uniqueness as an individual and a loss to the community by the victim's death. However, victim impact evidence must not be considered by you as an aggravating factor. In every criminal proceeding, a defendant has the absolute right to remain silent. From the exercise of the defendant's right to remain silent a jury is not permitted to draw any inference regarding the existence of an aggravating factor or an appropriate sentence. And the fact that a defendant did not take the witness stand must not influence your sentencing decision in any manner whatsoever. State, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, Nylexia Alexander is not the first person Ronny Walker has killed. See, back in October of 2003, a woman by the name of Elaine Caldwell was shot in the head. Her home was broken into, a robbery was taking place, and ultimately, that man seated right there, Ronny Walker, was convicted of her murder. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an aggravator, and one of the two the state will prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and which makes Ronny Walker death eligible. We are now at the stage where guilt is not an issue. You have already found the defendant guilty of the crimes he was charged with, and so now we are at the stage which is called the penalty phase. The issue now is your determination of whether the sentence should be life in prison without parole or death. The state will be presenting two aggravating factors. One of the aggravating factors, and I'm going to get into in a minute, that you've already really kind of heard of and heard through the evidence, because here you can still consider all the evidence that was presented in the case, in the guilt phase. Okay, so one of the aggravating factors is an aggravating factor called cold, calculated, and premeditated. And you're going to learn what exactly that is and what the state has to prove. The other aggravating factor that the state has claimed in this case is a prior violent felony conviction. And that is the death of Elaine Caldwell at that man's hands. Now, although you probably don't need any reminding of the process that both Ms. Fawcett and Ms. Schlemmer covered so thoroughly during the voir dire, the state must prove at least one of those aggravating factors beyond a reasonable doubt before you can even consider death. And I think you've heard that even in the judge's preliminary instruction. And we have no doubt that you will find both aggravating factors have been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, but you need at least one of those aggravating factors proven beyond a reasonable doubt by the state before you can then consider death. And again, everything that was presented and argued in the guilt phase can be considered by you when considering certain aggravating factors. And in this case, that is the cold, calculated, premeditated. So the state is not going to come and have to represent all of those witnesses and all of that evidence. I think you all would go crazy. No, you can consider all of that. It is considered part of this trial as well. So let me talk to you a little bit about cold, calculated, and premeditated. And obviously this is a aggravator where there is a heightened premeditation in it's calculated and it's done in a very cold manner. So in this particular case, you heard evidence from Robert Quincy Creed that he was searching for her, clearly had a plan in mind.
Yes.
I'm going to I cannot stand Ronny Walker's attorneys. They are constantly interrupting. They are constantly objecting. They are so annoying. They're so annoying.
And again, we're not going to represent all this. I'm just showing or explaining to you some of the things that you heard that may apply. But the fact that he was searching for her, that he got her in the car, bought her a drink, and took her, most importantly, to this location in the middle of the night, a dark location, according to Quincy Creed, a location where he pulled up so that the car was easily accessible on the driver's side to that vacant lot where her body could be left. All shows, ladies and gentlemen, heightened premeditation. And all of that is evidence you already have. and evidence that you can consider when determining whether or not it was cold, calculated, and premeditated. And then you heard from Quincy Creed, she was shot in the car. And as I described to you earlier, the evidence we believe showed that she walked out of that car and that Ronny Walker confronted her in that vacant lot and shot her 3 times in the head. That is basically an execution style killing.
Objection, Your Honor, improper argument. And same arguments made at the bench.
I'll sustain.
So you can consider how she was shot in determining whether or not this was a cold, calculated, and premeditated kind of case. All of that the state believes, will add up to cold, calculated, and premeditated. That is one of the aggravators. And again, you're not going to hear a bunch of evidence. That's why this is going to be a much shorter presentation for you all. We're not going to go back through all that. We're going to rely on your memories of all of that and informing a decision as to whether or not that aggravator applies. The second aggravator, however, is one you have not heard or learned about until today. So we do intend to present some evidence. It's still going to be very short and it's not going to be as significant. We're not going to relitigate that case. We're not going to do all that, but we are going to present a couple of witnesses, or at least one witness, to tell you sort of what happened there. Give you a little bit of the facts surrounding what occurred so you can kind of understand about the prior violent felony. And you're going to hear about Elaine Caldwell, and you're going to hear how this was her home that she was in when Ronny Walker came in there. You're going to hear about the fact that this was a robbery. And that because of them breaking into the home, it was a burglary. But there was another accomplice with that individual. You're going to hear that she was shot in her bedroom and shot in the head and killed. You will see certified copies of convictions that indicate Ronny Walker was convicted of those crimes. You'll hear from the lead detective at the beginning of the investigation, who will describe to you the scene. And he will also tell you, he attended the autopsy, and describe to you the injury that Elaine Caldwell suffered. All of that will be brought to you. Again, in a more truncated fashion, but a way for you to understand what happened in that prior violent felony conviction. Those two aggravating factors will be proven to you beyond a reasonable doubt. And at that point in time, you can consider whether to sentence Ronny Walker to death or life in prison. You will then decide whether each aggravating factor can sustain a sentence of death. And I submit that you will most likely hear mitigation for Ronny Walker. And you will need to consider all the mitigation the defense provides and give it whatever weight you feel it's appropriate. Then you will weigh the aggravating factors that the state believes it will prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt against those mitigating circumstances that you will hear about. And again, you give each the weight you feel they deserve. And then if you find that the aggravating factors outweigh those mitigating circumstances, and again, this must be unanimous at this point, then you go to the ultimate decision, and that is whether or not the defendant should be sentenced to death. We are confident, ladies and gentlemen, that we will have proven our aggravating factors, that you will give them great weight because they deserve great weight, and that you will find these aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating circumstances you're going to hear, and that the appropriate sentence in this case is the sentence of death.
Thank you, Judge. May it please the court, counsels. Good morning. My name, you haven't heard much about me since jury selection. My name is Carolyn Schlemmer again. I talked with you all quite a bit about your feelings about the death penalty. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for the service you have done in this case. It has been over 2 weeks that you have been with us. The time and attention you have given to all of us, including Mr. Walker. We want you to know that we fully accept your verdict. Fully accept your verdict. With your verdict, you have assured that Ronny Walker is punished. You have assured with your verdict that he will die in Florida State Prison. He will never be released and he will be punished. You have assured that. The decision you now have to make is, at whose hands does he die in Florida State Prison for what he did to Alexia Alexander? Because life without the possibility of parole, as you remember from jury selection and Mr. Terry talking with you, life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty are the only choices. And you are assured that Mr. Walker will never walk free. No matter what, Mr. Ronny Walker will die between the cement walls of Florida State Prison. Now, this is our opportunity, and I want to make it clear as well. We are not trying to excuse what was done to Alexia Alexander. You will hear from Alexia Alexander's mother and her grandmother. We anticipate Mr. Terry will present them. Ashley Alexander is a wonderful woman. You will hear that's a good family. So we are not in any way, shape, or form going to present mitigating circumstances to you to try to excuse Mr. Walker's behavior. But we have to give you that information, and the law recognizes that information, mitigating circumstances. Not an excuse. Maybe an explanation, maybe explaining, and being given to you so you can make that crucial decision, that individual moral decision we talked about during jury selection. And I agree with Mr. Terry when he summarized the law. There's many steps you will need to go through when it is time to go back and deliberate Mr. Walker's fate of how and at whose hands he will die. You have to find an aggravator unanimously beyond a reasonable doubt. That makes him then eligible, exactly as Mr. Terry indicated. You then have to find that those aggravating factors are sufficient for the death penalty. You then look at mitigating circumstances. You then look at whether the aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating circumstances. And as Mr. Terry said, once you have gone through all of those steps, you're going to make that crucial decision. And you'll hear more later on. The judge will be giving you more about the law before you go to deliberate. Remember, just keep in mind, as we talked about during jury selection, that even if you find that final step, that those aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating circumstances, you can still, no matter what, vote life without the possibility of parole. And that is what we are going to be asking you to do. I want to tell you a little bit about Ronny Walker. Ronny's not perfect, certainly. You've heard the case. No one is standing up here saying that, but you've got to make a critical decision now. But some of the things you will hear, we want to tell you about. January 22nd, 1978, Ronny Walker was born. At the time of Alexia Alexander's death, he was 44 years of age. He is now at the age of 47 in his life. Ronny has 5 siblings. He's one of 6. He has cousins. He has his mother. You will hear of some happy times that Ronny had in close-knit family. But Ronny Walker is a product of his environment. You will hear from his mother, Emma Hamilton. Emma will talk to you about Ronny's life as a child. You will hear that she raised Ronny and his siblings as a single parent. She'll talk to you about that. Up until about the age of 10. Ronny was with his siblings until about that time. You will also hear that because Miss Hamilton is a single parent, His father was never in the picture. In fact, Ronny doesn't know his father. He was never a part of Ronny's life. His name is Larry Walker. He took off on Emma and left her with the 6 children, 3 girls and 3 boys, one of which is Ronny. She will tell you Ronny was quite sick as a child. Ronny suffers from seizures. Seizures that Miss Hamilton will describe to you that happen, and sometimes multiple seizures in a day. He had been hospitalized at 6 months of age for double pneumonia and bronchitis. And after that point, so about 6 months of age, the seizures started and continue to this day. But these seizures would result in head injuries. And Ms. Hamilton will explain to you a seizure even caused him to fall out a window and drop 2 stories and hit his head. You heard in the jail calls that you heard during the guilt phase, you might have heard a stutter. She will talk to you, and other family members will, about his speech being delayed and the stuttering that he speaks at certain times. Now, we're about at 10 years of age. Ronny's growing up with his siblings. But at 10 years of age, Emma Hamilton will tell you she lost custody, gave up custody of her children to her sister, who is now deceased, Gloria Hamilton. And the children were sent in all different directions. The family was broken up. Ronny is 10. Ronny and his brothers, John and Antoine, nobody knows today where John is, and Antoine is now in prison. Ronny and his brothers stayed with Gloria, and were raised by Gloria. His sister Paulette was sent off to live with her father. And his sister Tangi was sent to live with her father. So at 10 years of age, his family was separated and torn apart. So we have no father, and now we have no siblings. You will hear that Gloria moved frequently. Ronny changed schools frequently because of that. He never graduated high school, never got a GED. You will hear Gloria did not live in safe neighborhoods. All the neighborhoods she lived in had drug dealing and violence. Emma Hamilton, after she lost Ronny and all of his siblings to Gloria in the custody of her, Emma then spiraled into drugs and alcohol. And Emma will be honest and tell you that she has an addiction that started about that time, and she is as well. She is mentally ill. Gloria moved around a lot. Ronny had to change schools, and when Gloria moved around with the children she did have, including Ronny, it was not moving to good areas. It was a bad area to another bad area. School issues started for Ronny. Emma will tell you about the 10 years of age. The seizures will continue. You will hear that. Now, you will also hear that Ronny eventually had 3 children of his own. Ronell, his son, Ron J., a son, and a daughter named Paris. In 2021, Ronell, this is about approximately a year before the tragic death of Nylexia Alexander, that Ronell was murdered, wounded by gunfire, and was killed. You will hear how that affected Ronny. About that same time in 2021, Ronny's grandmother, her name is also Emma Hamilton, Emma's mom, also died, right about 2021. I don't think Emma's going to be able to give you an exact date, but it's right about a year before the tragic death of Nylexia. You will hear how they were close. You will hear as well from one of his reunited sisters. And she'll tell you a little bit about how she doesn't even know what her real name is, but her name is Tangi, or Tanya Hamilton. Now, she was sent at about the age of 10, when Ronny went with Gloria and his brothers. She was sent to be with her father, while Paulette, as I said, went to her father. But Tangi never was able to have a relationship with Ronny. In fact, she had to use Ancestry.com and Ancestry sites to be able to get her family back. She will tell you that Ronny and her were respectfully about 3 and 4 years of age at the time. They never grew up together, and now they've been able to reconnect though. And she will tell you that she loves and supports Ronny. Ronny's cousin will speak with you. His name is Davis George Jr. And he's going to talk to you about the fact of the conditions living with Gloria and the bad neighborhoods and the violence. Ronny wanted to always be at his house, Davis's house, who was close to Ronny growing up. He was close to his family members growing up. He will tell you how Ronny basically lived on the wrong side of the tracks after being taken from his mother and given to Gloria, where Davis is on the other side of the tracks. A good house, lots of sports, his children are successful, and he has had a productive life. And he'll talk to you about the difference and how Mr. Walker always wanted to be over at his house when he was young. And he supports Mr. Walker. And you'll hear from other family members about the effect of Ronny never knowing his father, the death of his son, and the death of his grandmother about a year before this, the witnessing of seizures, the family background. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to have Emma paint the picture for you who everybody is, because you're going to hear some names, and how they support Ronny. Please, please remember as you're listening to this evidence, again, none of this is presented as an excuse at all. It is to help you in making that crucial decision you were about to make. Mr. Terry indicated you've already heard facts about cold, calculated, and premeditated. However, that requires a heightened premeditation, and Mr. Terry acknowledges that. You have found him guilty of premeditated first-degree murder. However, this aggravator is a heightened premeditated, over and above your finding of premeditation. There has to be a careful plan, pre-arranged, and there must be time for substantial reflection. So it is different. Part of the instruction you will hear later is, of course, the definition of premeditation, as you have found Ronny guilty, but it will talk to you about how it is much above that. And I will submit to you at the end of this, the facts do not indicate a careful plan. The video that you saw showing the vehicle, that's a residential neighborhood. There's street lights. Ronny's got his street lights on. Before that, he picks up Nylexia with Robert Creed. The lights are on. It was very bright. You can look at that video again if you'd like. But he goes down Floribraska and makes a U-turn because it's a dead end, comes back up from the dead end and parks at the vacant lot. And it's approximately 47 seconds in the vehicle at the time Nylexia is killed. And the events before the car pulls away. The car only shuts off its headlights when it's parked. There's a little, when it starts to go from that lot, puts lights back on, they flicker off, then they come back on. This is a residential area. There is no evidence that you have heard at all in the first stage that he had some plan to kill her with that heightened premeditation. Certainly the premeditation you all found, and with the number of gunshots, but this is different. This is much more heightened. There was no evidence that he wanted to kill her, intended to kill her, planned it, and had a prearranged, careful design. Robert Creed said the only thing, they go out, Ronny's trying to find a girl for Robert Creed, and then Robert Creed says he was, quote, looking for the girl. That's it. He picks her up. They go to this residential area, which Detective Whelan himself described as a residential area. So we submit to you that when you have, and you've heard all the evidence, you're pretty much not going to hear any more evidence about that, as Mr. Terry said. But when you get the jury instruction and you see the difference from your verdict already, we submit to you that they clearly will not have proven cold, calculated, and premeditated. A prearranged, heightened premeditation with a careful plan to murder. There's no evidence of that. That is an aggravator in the state of Florida. The state is seeking it. It is up to you to make that determination. And I submit it is what you have heard clearly does not rise to that level. And you'll hear the instruction the judge will give you, and we'll talk more about that later. You can also consider things from the guilt phase. His cooperation with law enforcement, his consent for a buckle, the fact he talked to them. Those are things also that you can consider. And then, of course, any mitigating circumstances presented or anything presented during the guilt phase by the state of Florida. One thing I want to tell you about his conviction. The incident occurred on October 23rd of 2003. Detective Drabanek was the original officer, original detective. Mr. Terry indicated he is in fact calling Detective Drabanek. Almost 6 years later, Detective Drabanek will tell you the case went cold. But in 2010, and so the case itself, you're going to see two different judgment and sentences that Mr. Terry is going to put into evidence. They are from the same incident, so we just want to make sure that you know that, from an incident occurring on October 23rd of 2003. But what you're going to hear, Ronny Walker pled to those charges. He pled. Please, none of this, as I said again, that we will present to you is going to be an excuse. We are empowering you for your individual moral decision. In making that decision, you will make sometime in the next few days. And remember mercy. And because the aggravating factors you can believe outweigh the mitigating circumstances, you can still have mercy.
She's got to be kidding. I got you guys on mute because my dogs are barking. But she's got to be kidding. I can't even get past 14. You know what I'm saying? Despite the fact that he is now convicted of killing two women, one of which is barely a woman. She's 14 years old. But the fact that this guy just freshly got convicted 2 days ago of killing a baby, a 14-year-old, and you want people to give him mercy because his mother passed away, the kids got split up, all kinds of stuff. What about Nylexia's sister who has to grow up? She had one sister. You got a parcel of brothers and sisters. You got a whole bunch that you didn't even know you had. Nylexia had one sister, and guess what? Nylexia's sister is now by herself. She didn't have a sister anymore. Her sister was murdered at 14 years old. And Nylexia's sister is a baby too. I think Nylexia's sister was like 2 or 3 years, maybe a year or two younger than her. So now Nylexia's sister is left with just a memory of a sister she had that was murdered. So you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, ew, so inconsiderate for her to even try to stretch people to give this guy mercy. But what about the young lady that he shot in the face? Awful.
These are not shown as an excuse, but to show you that man is broken. And he is worthy of a life sentence without the possibility of parole and not the death penalty. You will not hear that this is one of the most aggravated and least mitigated cases. He's broken. He will die in Florida State Prison. And he will never get out. And that's what we are going to be asking you to do after all of the evidence and you hear the law. Select life without parole. And on behalf of everybody, I thank you. Thank you, Judge.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take our lunch break now.
Okay, let's go ahead and gather our time.
Remind you not to talk to anyone about the case or listen
Let's
to anyone
see.
news about the case. Remember, there's people people all over. Make sure you stay away. Thank you.
All right.
See you,
All rise.
I'm going to
the,
zip past the lunch break. I'm not sure how much longer.
No, 1:15. Never mind.
My bad. I'm not sure how long this is going to go because the judge said something about breaking at 2 p.m. So it shouldn't. Let's see. So this is when they came back from the break right here. Let's see. Okay.
It's an aggravator that we have to prove.
They do have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. They're allowed to present evidence. I believe.
So the jury is not back yet, obviously. You see the seats are empty. And they're arguing something else. I'm telling you, his
Aggravator that we have to prove.
They do have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. They're allowed to present evidence. I believe that the evidence that they have presented and what I have limited them from actually being able to show falls within all those Supreme Court rulings. And I'll deny the same ruling on your objections for the record. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I'm just gonna make sure, and I understand, like, when we talk about jury selection, I'm going to make sure I make the objection before. it turns,
Absolutely.
Just to,
Understand.
because of the nature.
Got to preserve the record. I understand that. So we're good. Anything else? All right. Jury's back. Y'all may be seated. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, no issues with the court instructions, no one approached you talking about the case. You didn't see the media. You talked about it amongst yourself. Perfect, very good. Mr. Chair, whenever you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor. Judge, at this point in time, prior to calling our first witness, the state would move into evidence for this portion of the proceeding, State's Exhibit 2A and State's Exhibit 2B.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
States 2A and 2B are admitted to evidence.
Judge, and if I may publish these to the jury.
Yes, sir.
thank you for recognizing a microphone. My God. So y'all's microphones do work. Okay. Golly. Oh, the green waters. Oh, yes. They're down there by the green waters, y'all. The green waters of Tampa.
And this is 2A, which is the certified copy of conviction for case number 09-CF-015021. And I'm now going to publish 2B, certified copy of conviction for case 10-CF-006452.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder, those two certified copies of convictions are from the same event. It's the same charge.
Judge, this time the state would call Dennis Dravenak.
affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. If you can tell the jury your name and spell your last name for the court reporter.
Name's Dennis Drabiniak, Drabiniak.
All right. And sir, how are you currently employed?
I'm retired.
Okay. When did you retire?
I retired from TPD in Tampa Police in 2010.
All right. After working with Tampa Police, did you work anywhere else after that?
Yes, sir.
Where did you work after that?
State Attorney's Office for till last year.
All right.
14 years.
And you were an investigator at the State Attorney's Office?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now back, you said you retired from TPD. What year was that?
2010.
Okay. Prior to retiring at Tampa Police Department, what positions did you hold at that department?
I was a detective for most of my career. Narcotics first as a young man, then homicide, and a trip around patrol, and then back at homicide and robbery, and then intel at the end.
All right. Now, back in October of 2003, what position did you hold at the Tampa Police Department?
In 2003, I went back to homicide.
Okay. And were you involved in the initial investigation into the death of of Elaine Caldwell?
Yes.
And what position did you hold in the investigation?
I was a lead detective at that time.
All right. Did you respond out to the scene?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Describe for the jury, if you can, the scene when you arrived at the location.
It was pretty chaotic. Quite a few people there. The street was full of people. It was at the 2013 Eskimo, Hillsborough County, Florida. And so I got there. I met with another detective, and we're briefed by the on-scene supervisors and the adverse detectives, and then initiated our investigation.
All right. What was this location?
It was a 2013 Eskimo.
What was it? Was it a home?
It was a house. It was a residence. Excuse me.
It was a residence. Okay. And was there a crime scene tape out when you arrived?
Yes, there were.
All right. And was the scene actually inside the residence?
Yes, it was.
Did you go into the residence?
Yes, I did.
What did you observe when you went into the residence?
Well, when I went to the residence, I met with one of the people there that was Raymond Lee. Met with him. I met with a little girl, and then spoke to him for a minute, and then he showed me where the decedent Elaine Caldwell was.
Did he give you information as to what took place or what had just happened?
Objection, here, sir.
I'm not asking him what information. Did he give you information about what had happened?
Yes.
And did you speak with the young girl that was there as well?
Yes.
Was she able to also give you some information about what happened?
Yes.
Okay. And where was the victim, Elaine Caldwell? Was she still at the scene?
Yes.
Where was she?
In the master bedroom.
All right. And did you go in and find her or see her?
Yes.
And what was her position? How was she positioned?
She was at the foot of the bed between the end of the bed and a dresser. It was a narrow area. And she was slumped down on her knees. Part of her body was on the mattress, the foot of the bed.
All right. So at that point in time, you kind of took over or were the lead in the investigation, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And you said you obtained the statements from the witnesses who were present at the time?
Yes, sir.
All right. And after all of that, did you later attend an autopsy in this case?
Yes, I did.
And that was the autopsy of Elaine Caldwell?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as states 5A1 through A3. You can take a look at that. Look at those pictures, please. you recognize those?
Yes, sir.
And what are they?
They're photographs of Elaine Caldwell.
And do these pictures fairly and accurately represent what they are showing in these pictures?
Yes, sir.
Judge Muda states exhibits 5A1 and through A3 admitted into evidence.
Same objection.
Same rulings, and they may be published.
All right, thank you. And states 5A1. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at the DL driver's license photo of Elaine Caldwell.
All right, and this was the individual you found dead in that residence when you arrived there that day. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And states exhibit 5A3. What are we looking at here?
Photograph of Elaine Caldwell at the medical examiner's office.
And you, in fact, went there and you were present while the autopsy was conducted in this
Yes.
case, correct? And what injury did she have?
She had a gunshot wound to the head.
Right. Showing you what is marked as 5A2. Was this, in fact, the bullet wound that you observed that day to the head of Elaine Caldwell?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, Detective, did you ever finish with this case or solve this case?
No.
Okay, so there was a certain point. Was there a certain point in this investigation where you moved to a different unit or different area?
Yes, sir.
Right, but you were the initial lead, and you were the one who responded to the scene as well as to the autopsy, correct?
That's correct.
Right. I may have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Nothing further. This witness.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just one or two questions for you. So when did you leave the unit or when did you retire?
I retired from the city in September of 2010. Excuse me. I left the unit, I believe, in 04.
Okay.
I went to,
This incident with Miss Caldwell occurred in 2003.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you left the unit in 2004
That's correct.
and officially retired in 2010.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And when you left the unit, the case went cold, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. May I have a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
No other questions? Thank you.
Can you redirect?
No.
Can you finish the excuse?
Yes.
Free to go. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
State your call your next witness. Yes, come on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take about a 2-minute recess, so if you'll just keep them close, we're going to bring them right back. All rise for yours. Teresa, left the room, you all may be seated. Go ahead. Stop sign. We're just going to swear you in. I have to ask you a couple of questions.
You can raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir.
You've had a chance to talk to the attorneys about what you can and can't say, correct? Correct. This could be real important that you stay inside what they told you not to say. Because if you get emotional and you say things that you may want to say, that you're not supposed to inside of the courtroom, then this whole thing's going to have to start over from the very beginning. And we don't want to go down that road, right? Correct. So just make sure that whatever those attorneys told you about what you can say, go ahead and say that. and stay away from anything they told you not to bring up. Okay, I really want you to do that for the court, all right?
Okay.
I appreciate that. You can go ahead and have a seat, sir. Thank you for coming down here.
I'm just gonna put it on the record so that it's clear.
Okay. And she's just gonna repeat it so it's in the record.
Yeah.
What we can't say.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Well, I know that one of the ways that you knew or that you found out the person that was in your home was that you looked at the Florida Department of Corrections website. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you knew that the person had just come out of prison. The one thing that we cannot mention is the Florida Department of Corrections website, or that the defendant had ever been to prison or had just come out of prison. So whenever I ask you questions, I'm really just going to be asking you about October the 23rd of 2003 and the events of that day specifically. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that.
Judge, before the jury, since he's already on the stand, before the jury comes in, we renew all objections to the testimony.
Same rules.
Thank you.
All rise, yours in.
One other thing, we looked through your thing, you have 6 prior felonies. If they ask how many prior felonies you have, 6.
Okay.
Remember that number?
Thank you. Y'all may be seated.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your full name for the record?
Raymond Jerome Lee.
And sir, are you currently employed?
Yes.
Where do you work?
At Midwest Transportation.
Okay. And how long have you worked there?
2.5 years.
So I'd like to turn your attention to the time frame of October the 23rd of 2003 at about 8 p.m. Where were you at around that time on that day?
Home.
Okay. Where did you live?
I don't forgot the address, but on Eskimo in
And
Tampa.
That's in here in Hillsborough County.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Who were you living with?
Me and Elaine Caldwell, my girlfriend.
Okay. Was there anyone else living in the home at the time?
Yes,
Who?
our daughter.
How old was your daughter?
Was
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
So at the time of October the 23rd of 2003 at 8 p.m., what were you doing at your home?
I was watching television in the den.
Were you with anyone in the den?
Yes,
Who were you with?
my daughter.
And was Elaine Caldwell home as well?
Yes, she were.
Where was she?
She was in the bedroom doing her hair.
And did something out of the ordinary happen?
Yes.
What happened?
I had someone come into my house that wasn't invited in my house.
And what did the person do?
Well, he came in with a gun. He came in to rob me.
So when this individual came into your home, do you know if he had anything covering his face? Did he have a mask or anything on?
No, he didn't have no mask on. He had a hat on, but he didn't have no mask.
And did he speak with you? Did he say anything to you?
Yes, he would ask who was all in the house.
And what did you say?
My girlfriend, Elaine.
Okay. And at that point, what happened after you said that to him?
He asked me to get up, and me and my daughter got up, and he walked us into the next bedroom where she was at. And once I called her, I say, Linnell, and she.
Objection, hearsay.
You can answer the question.
Okay, and she turned around and looked and seen the 3 of us.
Objection, speculation.
Rephrase the question.
What happened after you entered the room, the bedroom with Elaine Caldwell?
Ronnie attempted to with the gun, and she started screaming when she saw an uninvited guest behind me with the gun to my head, and she just started screaming hysterical.
And then what happened after that?
And okay, so when she was screaming hysterical, and I kept telling her to be quiet, and he kept handing the gun to my head, and he kept saying, "Well, where's the money?" And she kept screaming, and then he pointed the gun at her, and he kept saying, be quiet," and I kept trying to tell her to be quiet too. And then my daughter was crying also and stuff, and my daughter kept screaming, and she was crying and stuff too. And then Ronnie had pointed the gun, and he told her that he wasn't gonna hurt her, and he kissed her on the forehead and said, "I'm not gonna hurt you," and stuff. So he pointed the gun back at Elaine because she kept screaming and stuff. So what I did was I reached for the gun, and we went to tussling with the gun and stuff like that, and the gun went off. I thought that the it shot up in the ceiling, but it hit her in the head.
Okay. Did you see Elaine Caldwell get hit in the head or get shot?
Yes.
And then how did she react after she got shot?
Well, she fell.
Okay. What did the defendant do after that?
We all, three of us, we all freaked out. You know what I'm saying? That the gun went off in the bedroom, and seeing her fall and stuff. And he kept saying, "Well, where the money was." And then my daughter said, "It's out there in the car. It's in the trunk out there in the car and stuff." So he was leading us out, going out the front door and stuff. And once we did get out the front door, I pushed my daughter and I told her to run and stuff. And Ronnie ran down one way, and I ran across the street trying to get help.
At some point, did you give Ronny Walker money?
Yes.
Okay. How much did you give him?
Probably about $500 I had in my back pocket.
At what point did you give him this money? Is it before you went into the bedroom with Elaine Caldwell or after?
I can't quite remember, but I think he probably took it before we went in the bedroom with Lanier.
So after Mr. And do you see that person who was in your home and shot Elaine Caldwell in the courtroom today?
Of course I do.
Can you please identify him by an article of clothing?
Yes, right there with the gray suit on with the sunglasses or whatever shades on. Sent to the table right there.
Now, may the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so, do you know which one happened first in time? Do you remember whether when he entered the home and he asked you for money, whether he ultimately got that money from you before you went into the bedroom?
On a scale from 1 to 10, I give it an 8 that he took it. I gave him the money before we went into the bedroom.
Okay. And do you remember Mr. Ronny Walker still asking for more money?
Oh, of course.
Okay. So tell us what happened at that point.
When we was in the bedroom.
Yeah. After you gave him the $500, was there a time that he asked for more money?
Yes, when we walked into the bedroom. See, he took the money from me while we was in the den. Okay. As we was walking to the room where Elaine was doing her hair at, right? That's when he kept asking for more money.
Okay. All right. And after Elaine Caldwell was shot, did he continue to ask for more money?
No.
Did he take you outside for more money?
Right. Yeah, we walked back outside because my daughter had said that it's in the.
Okay. You can answer the question.
She said that it was in the trunk of the car. She was saying that to get him out of the house.
Sustain. Strike the last statement.
Did you walk out of the house with Ronny Walker and your daughter?
Yes.
Answer, Judge.
Sustain.
Under what circumstances did you walk out the house, out of your home? After Elaine, may we approach? Under what circumstances did you walk out of your home after Elaine Caldwell was shot?
Up under the distress of Ronny Walker with a gun, walking us, we going out the front door.
Did he still have the gun pointed at you?
Of course.
At any point during this incident, did Ronny Walker also have the gun pointed at your daughter?
Yes.
Objection, relevance.
Sustain.
It goes to the aggravator, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. At any point in time, did Ronnie Walker have the gun specifically pointed at Elaine Caldwell?
Yes.
Judge, I would ask that you answer concerning the daughter, and ask tell the jury to disregard.
May we approach, Your Honor?
No, I'll stretch it.
Did you ever give Ronnie Walker permission to enter your home?
No, I didn't.
Did you know Ronnie Walker before this day, October the 23rd of
No.
2003?
No.
Your Honor, may I have a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
I have no further questions.
Cross.
Good afternoon. So, sir, you've been convicted of 6 felonies, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you indicated that Mr. Walker, who you've identified as being in your house that day, had kissed your daughter's head and said he was not going to hurt her, correct?
Correct.
Right. And he had said he's not going to hurt her because he has 2 daughters of his own, correct?
Correct.
Right. And you indicated and you told the jury that basically you are tussling with him at some point, and that's when the gun, quote, goes off, correct?
Correct.
Right. And at some point, Mr. Walker tried to get out of the house, didn't he?
Of course, all of us tried to get. Yes.
Before that, didn't he try to exit the home?
Before that.
Yes, before you walk out to the car with Mr. Walker and your daughter, doesn't he try to get out of the house?
No.
You didn't just tell me that in deposition?
No. When I said what I said was we all was going out of the house, not him trying to get out of the house on his own and leave us in there.
Okay.
We was all going out to the car, so-called, to get money from out of the trunk of the car.
Okay, understood. So are you denying that you just told me under oath in deposition?
Sustain.
Well, let me ask you this question
Okay.
and see. Did you in fact just give us a deposition?
Yes, I did.
Did you just give us a deposition?
Yes, I did.
Were you placed under oath at the time? to
Yes,
tell
I
the truth?
were.
Okay, and did you speak with myself and Miss Fawcett?
Yes, I did.
Right? All right. Let me ask you, did you make the following response to the following question or the following response and tell us that at some point before you walk outside with Mr. Walker and your daughter, Mr. Walker was trying to get out of the house on his own?
Maybe I misunderstood what you were saying.
Everybody.
If I did,
Hold
if
on.
I,
One at a time. Don't speak over each other because this young lady right here can't write down 3 conversations anymore. So there's been an objection, grounds,
Improper impeachment.
overruled.
Okay. All right. And you indicated that Ronnie asked for money. Is that right?
that's correct.
And he was asking that several times, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And may I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
No other questions. Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Be ready.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Thank you, Sue. Step down. State your call, next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would call Ashley Alexander.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Ms. Alexander's approaching the podium. May Ms. Fawcett and I approach?
Sure, come on up. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm going to review partial part of the original instruction I gave you. Once again, the state is about to present evidence of the existence of an aggravating factor. Victim impact evidence may be presented. Such evidence is only presented to demonstrate Alexia Alexander's uniqueness as an individual and the loss to the community by the victim's death. However, the victim impact must not be considered by you as an aggravating factor.
Judge, may we approach?
Yes. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, victim impact evidence may be presented. Such evidence is only presented to demonstrate Alexia Alexander's uniqueness as an individual and the loss to the community by the victim's death. However, victim impact evidence must not be considered by you as an aggravating factor. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Ashley Alexander.
And ma'am, how are you related to Alexia Alexander?
I'm her mother.
Did you prepare a victim impact statement?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Are you prepared to read it?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay. She may
You may,
proceed.
whenever you're ready, ma'am.
My name is Ashley Alexander. I am the mother of Alexia Alexander. I became Alexia's, which we call her Lexi, foster mom, June of 2011. I remember when Lexi came to my home, she was a fragile little girl who was scared and nervous, but she became warm with love. She opened up as she got more comfortable in my home. Lexi was my gentle giant. She was sweet, loving, and caring. She gave the best hugs and kisses. My baby was always smiling. She wasn't confrontational with anyone. If you asked her for a shirt off her back, she would give it to you without hesitation. Lexi was always loving, outgoing, and she was always wanted to do anything to help everyone that she could. The past 2 years having the girls, I grew very fond of Lexi and her sister. So in April 2013, I decided to adopt Lexi and her sister. Not only because I love the girls, but because I wanted them to have a forever home. We always did fun things such as picnics, going to the beach, and of course, pool every weekend. Lex loved water. Lex loved happening in the kitchen, cooking, and preparing meals for our dinner movie nights. When she was younger, Lex and her sister and I would always sit in a room and watch a Disney movie. Frozen, Monster High was our favorite. She loved Shopkins, and for Christmas, she always told me, Mom, I want all Shopkins, everything. So I would take the girls to my mom's house late at night just to go out looking for Shopkins in the store. I went from Walmart to Toys R Us, Target, and Ross. Wherever they had kids' toys, I was there. As Lexi grew older, I had to learn to adjust and grow and change with her personality. As she became a preteen, she got into the different hairstyles, different music types. She loved to dance, sing, and dress up. Lexi had dreams of becoming a fashion designer. She wanted to graduate high school and go to college in New York City. She wanted to study fashion. She also wanted to study to be a lawyer. For her 15th birthday, my mom and I were going to surprise her with a trip to the Big Apple, as she could see her dreams can come true and get the experience of traveling on a plane, something she always dreamed of. I miss the conversations. I miss sitting on the porch talking about her school days and talk about the school dances that were coming up and how she wanted her hair done and the dresses she wanted to wear. I miss listening to her dreams and all her desires. I miss her climbing in my bed and wanting her head rubbed as she fell asleep in my lap. I thank God for allowing me to be Alexia's mom for the 12 years.
Thank you, ma'am. Showing you what has been pre-marked to see Exhibit 4A through J. Do you recognize these photographs?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Are there an accurate depiction of Alexia?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move into evidence State Exhibit 4A through J.
Same objections, Judge.
Same rule, I'll allow it.
Publishing, State A through J. State Exhibit 4A. Ma'am?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
look that way, or? Is this Alexia?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember what was happening at this point?
That was her 4th birthday. It was at Chili's celebrating.
State Exhibit 4B.
First day of kindergarten.
For C.
Christmas. I want to say she was about 11, 12. It was at my mom's house.
Did you put these enhancements?
I did from
Okay.
Snapchat.
State Exhibit 4D.
We was going shopping. She was about 13 here.
And did Alexia put these enhancements?
Yes, ma'am. She always had my phone on Snapchat.
Okay. State Exhibit 4E.
She was actually 10 on this picture at She High Elementary. She was in 5th grade. She was a patrol.
State Exhibit 4F.
She was about 7, and we was all going out to dinner.
Okay. State Exhibit 4G.
That was Christmas of 2021, and she was 13.
State Exhibit 4H.
She was 12 on this picture.
State Exhibit 4I.
Her 5th grade banquet at She High. That was her 5th grade banquet at She High.
And State Exhibit 4J.
That was just one Sunday, was at my mom's house, sitting at the table, and my mom was making a joke, and she just turned around and had this smile on her face, and it was a moment to catch her. And she was about 11, 12.
Thank you, ma'am. You're not.
Oh my God, I'm sorry.
We have no questions.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you.
Next witness.
Yes, the state would call Leslie Alexander.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So, yeah?
Thank you. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Leslie Alexander.
And how are you? How do you know Lexi Alexander? How did you know
She's
her?
my granddaughter.
And under what circumstances did she become your granddaughter?
When my daughter started, she fostered her, and then we all fell in love with her, and then she decided to adopt them.
Okay. And if you could get closer to the microphone. Did you spend a lot of time with Lexi Alexander?
I did.
Did you create a victim impact statement?
Yes.
Are you prepared to read it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Leslie Alexander. I am the mother of Alexia Alexander. Friday, May 6, 2022 is a day that I will forever be etched in my memory. I was on my way to dinner with friends when I received the call that Alexia was dead. My first thought was that there must have been some kind of mistake. I could not believe, but it was true. Alexia, or Lexi, as we lovingly call her, was a social butterfly and a girly girl. She loved getting her hair nails, and toes done. From the age of 5 to 8, she and her sister would spend weekends with me because their mother worked every weekend. We would start our mornings with her favorite breakfast, waffles, eggs, grits with cheese, bacon, sausage, and fresh fruit, which she loved having to prepare. We would sit out on the lanai, eat and talk. Then we would begin our manicures and pedicures. She and her sister would pick their favorite colors, and I would polish their nails and add a design of their choice. If I were having a difficult day, Alexia would say, Nana, I know what we can do to cheer you up. When I asked her what, she would say, shopping. So off we go to our favorite stores, Dillard's, Nordstrom's, and Macy's. Lexi always talked about going to New York. We were planning to surprise her with a trip for her 15th birthday. Sadly, we never had the chance. She was such a loving and beautiful child, and her absence has left a hole in our hearts that can never be filled. One of Alexia's favorite hobbies was baking cookies. She especially loved baking chocolate chip cookies. I remember how excited she would get gathering all the ingredients. She took pride in measuring everything perfectly and always insisted on taste testing the dough. The kitchen would fill with the sweet smell of cookies, and she would light up with joy when they came out of the oven. Baking together became one of our special traditions, and those moments are now some of my most cherished memories. Now, Alexia loved to dance to her favorite song, Girl on Fire by Alicia Keys. Even though she had no rhythm, but she was having fun like any typical teenager. She will forever be in our hearts and deeply missed.
Yes, the state would call Miss Gadsden Yarborough.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Could you please state your full name for the record?
Delia Gadsden Yarborough.
Okay. And ma'am, are you currently employed?
Yes, I am.
Where do you work?
Hillsborough County Public Schools. I was the principal at Lehigh, and next week I'll be the principal of Muller.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you know Nalexia? Did you know Nalexia Alexander?
Yes, I did.
How did you get to know her?
She was a fifth grade student, my first year as principal at Lehigh.
Did you prepare a victim impact statement?
Yes, I did.
Are you prepared to read it?
Yes.
Thank you.
As the principal of Lehigh Elementary during the 2018-2019 school year, I had the privilege of knowing Alexia Alexander, a remarkable fifth grade student we all called Lexi. She was a dedicated safety patrol and had a heart for helping others. She loved helping her teachers and younger students. She was a bright, kind-hearted girl who always proudly wore her patrol belt. I remember her enjoying all of the end of the year fifth grade festivities, especially getting dressed up for our awards luncheon in a pretty purple dress. I also remember how excited she was to ride in my car to the annual patrol luncheon we hold at Big John's Barbecue every year. I remember how she giggled and laughed when she was talking with her friends. She was happy and enjoyed school. One memory that remains etched in my heart is the day she surprised us after she had moved on to Sly Middle School. She walked in the blazing heat all the way back to Lehigh just to say she missed us and to see all of us. I remember seeing her come up to the car line, hot, tired, and flustered, but beaming. That small act spoke volumes about the love she carried in her heart, even at such a young age. She longed for connection. Tonight, my mind is flooded with images of this beautiful, bright child that would be preparing for her senior year of high school this summer. She will never get to experience high school, prom, graduation, and beyond. In my 29 years as an educator in this community, I've had the privilege of working with thousands of students over the years. Some stand out more than others, but Lexi was truly special. She was always so caring and wanted to be a part of our school even after she moved on. Her smile could light up a room, her laugh was contagious, and her voice was full of kindness. I will never forget Lexi. She will always have a special place in my heart. Her memory will forever remind us of the love and joy she brought into our lives. Respectfully, Lexi's elementary school principal.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Come on up. Terry, whenever you're ready.
Yes, Judge. At this time, we would move in all the evidence that was obtained in the guilt phase into the death penalty phase, Your Honor. And with that, we will rest.
Other than previous objections, any other objections?
Same objections made during the guilt phase by Ms. Conrad.
Same rulings that will be all admitted. And state.
Judge, at this point, we rest our penalty phase.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before I recess for the day and ask you to come back tomorrow at 8:30, I want to remind you that even though there were two judgments that you saw, it was just from one case. And Mr. Walker pled guilty to both of those judgments in that one case. Anything else? All right, court being recessed till tomorrow morning at 8:30.
All right.
Jury's left, y'all may be seated. Any matters we need to discuss outside the presence of the jury? All right, see you folks tomorrow morning at 8:30. Court's in recess.
Court stands in recess. Please exit.
Hey guys, sorry. I walked away for a minute. Okay. Okay, my bad. Yeah, I guess for today, because they said something about it ending at 2:00 today for whatever reason. I'm not sure. I forgot what he said, but the judge said something about it ending today at 2. Um, the letter from the prince. Why did the grandmother say Lexi didn't have any rhythm? And then the teacher, the principal, that was sad. There's nothing around a 14-year. I don't care. I don't even care. It's just like there's nothing around the murder of a 14-year-old by and period. Um and by a grown ass man preying on people and then killing that lady in cold blood. Awful. Anyway, guys, Ronny Walker is a bad dude, period. He's just a bad dude. There's just no ways around it. Anyway, you guys comment down below if you're on the replay. Make sure, let me know that you were here. We got text messages to read a little bit later. I've been telling you guys about, and I put up 2 videos regarding, well, one dedicated, but we talked about it in another one. The sheriff of Osceola County. Well, guess what? His wife got arrested too. Like 2-3 days ago. And it's not looking good. It's a complete scandal down there in Osceola County. Anyway, I want to talk about that too, but I'm going to go ahead and shut this one down. Make sure to hit the thumbs up. And then when I come back, I feel like we're going to do some Nesto text messages, some jail text messages. Yeah, he deserves it. Absolutely. I mean, there's so many reasons, even just here in this chat. Some people said, what about wrongful convictions? And then, what I'm saying? There's so many reasons. This is my thing. I'm going to just trust the law of the land. If the law of the land in Florida is the law of the land in Florida, then I'm just going to respect the law of the land in Florida. And I'm going to just leave it at that because my opinion doesn't really count other than it's the law of the land of that particular state and how they administer justice. But I just can't get around killing a 14-year-old. I just can't do it. I mean, it's just awful. And she had her whole life ahead of her, along with the lady who was also killed, who it seems like the man just ran up in their house, tried to rob the other man. Just a mess. This guy Ronny is no good. And honestly, I feel like if you've killed twice, you're probably, that's an option for you. Most people, killing is not an option. Ronny Walker, I think it's safe to say that killing is an option for him. And that if he's in a pickle, if he's in trouble, if he doesn't know what to do, that's the option. He's got that as an option in his back pockets. He's dangerous. That means he's a dangerous person. So anyway, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm so glad you guys came through this afternoon. Let me know what you think of this. There are a couple other Ronny Walker videos on my channel. We've been kind of low-key keeping up with the case the past week or so. And I've talked about it. I put up a couple of shorts. I did not stream the whole entire thing. And I don't know that I'm going to stream the whole entire sentencing unless you guys want me to. You guys let me know. And if you're on the replay, let me know. Make sure to check in. Make sure to hit the thumbs up. That way I know. Otherwise, we can always just talk about it and maybe I can pull highlights and things like that. We don't necessarily have to watch the whole thing. So anyway, you guys take care. Have a good rest of the day. We will pick this up tomorrow and get caught up with what happens tomorrow. Like I said, we might stream a little bit, but I don't know that I'm going to stream the whole entire thing. Okay. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Have a good one. Bye, guys.